The people who win rarely explain what they're doing. They're too busy doing it. If you've ever felt pressure to talk about your plans just to feel seen, this message is for you. Real growth doesn't happen online. It happens in quiet mornings, long evenings, and ordinary days where no one notices your effort. Most people quit there, not because they can't do it, but because they don't get fast approval. Today, attention feels like success. If you're not visible, it feels like you're falling behind. But that thinking ruins focus and weakens patience. The strongest progress happens when you stop checking who's watching and start committing to what matters. This audiobook is built for people who are tired of proving and ready to build. People who want confidence that comes from effort, not compliments. People who understand that time rewards consistency, not noise. If you're willing to stay steady while others rush, stay focused while others talk, and trust the process before the outcome shows, this will change how you think. Stay with this. What you're about to hear isn't loud, but it's powerful. Chapter 1. Choose silence while building real progress. People often ask why their effort feels invisible and why no one seems to notice how hard they are trying. That question usually comes from a deeper place. It comes from the human desire to be seen and approved of. That desire is natural. Every person wants to feel that their work matters. But here is a truth that changes lives when you really hear it. The most important work you will ever do does not need an audience. Real progress is quiet. It happens early in the morning when no one is clapping. It happens late at night when no one is sending encouragement. It happens when you choose to do what is necessary instead of what feels good in the moment. Silence is not weakness. Silence is focus. Silence is strength under control. When you decide to build your life seriously, you must understand human nature. Most people talk because talking gives them a feeling of movement. Talking gives them a feeling of importance. Talking gives them quick relief from insecurity. But talking does not build skill. Talking does not build character. Talking does not build results. Action does. Silence protects your energy. Every time you explain your plans, you give away a piece of your drive. Every time you seek approval, you make your confidence depend on others. That is a fragile way to live. Strong people build quietly because they do not need permission to grow. Think about your own life. The moments that changed you the most were not announced. The habits that shaped you were not shared. The discipline you gained came from private decisions. You chose to show up even when it was uncomfortable. You chose to improve when it was boring. You chose to keep going when progress felt slow. Silence removes pressure. When no one is watching, you are free to learn. You are free to make mistakes. You are free to grow at your own pace. Public promises often create stress. Private commitments create strength. When you work in silence, you are no longer trying to impress. You are trying to improve. The human mind is sensitive to opinion. Praise can make you lazy. Criticism can make you quit. Silence removes both dangers. When you stop listening for reactions, you start listening to your standards. And standards shape behavior. Behavior shapes results. People who constantly announce their goals are often trying to convince themselves. People who are serious are already convinced. They do not need to talk. They need to act. They wake up and do the work. They repeat the process. They allow time to do its job. Patience grows in silence. When no one is cheering, you learn how to wait. Waiting teaches discipline. Waiting teaches trust. Waiting teaches emotional control. Life rewards those who can delay recognition and keep moving forward anyway. Progress is built from ordinary days, not exciting days, not dramatic moments. Ordinary days where you choose effort over comfort. Silence allows those days to stack without distraction. You stop checking for approval. You stop measuring yourself against others. You focus on the task in front of you. There is a deep psychological shift that happens when you work quietly. Your self-respect increases. You begin to trust yourself. Every completed task strengthens your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. That belief becomes powerful. Noise invites comparison. Silence invites clarity. When you remove noise, you see your strengths and weaknesses clearly. You know what needs work. You know what deserves attention. You stop wasting time pretending and start spending time building. Many people fear silence because it forces honesty. In quiet moments, you face your effort level. You face your excuses. You face your discipline. That can be uncomfortable. But discomfort is a teacher. It shows you where growth lives. Results are honest. They do not lie. They do not exaggerate. They do not need explanation. When results arrive, they speak clearly. They show your consistency. They show your patience. They show your character. That is why results carry weight. People respect what they can see. But before others see it, you must live it. You must become it privately. Success that is rushed and announced often collapses. Success that is built quietly lasts. Silence also teaches humility. You realize the world does not owe you applause. You learn to value progress for its own sake. That mindset keeps you grounded when success arrives. It keeps you steady when challenges come. There is emotional strength in knowing you are improving, even if no one else knows yet. That quiet confidence changes how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. You no longer chase attention. You attract respect through consistency. Work done in silence has depth. It is not rushed. It is not shallow. It is thoughtful. You take time to learn. You refine your skills. You correct mistakes. You grow solid roots. Strong roots support lasting growth. Many people quit right before progress shows because they are tired of being unseen. Silence tests commitment. It asks one question: how badly do you want this if no one notices yet? Those who stay answer with action. Patience is emotional maturity. It is the ability to trust time and effort. Silence trains patience. Each quiet day strengthens your ability to wait without frustration. That skill helps in every area of life. Silence also filters relationships. You learn who respects your process without needing updates. You learn who supports without needing proof. You learn who only shows interest when there is something to see. That awareness is valuable. When results finally speak, they do not need defense. They do not need explanation. They stand on their own. People listen differently when they see proof. But by then, you no longer need validation. You already have self-respect. Work in silence is not hiding. It is preparing. It is choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term attention. It is choosing substance over image. It is choosing growth over noise. Every great change begins quietly, inside a decision, inside a habit, inside a routine, inside a commitment that no one else hears. Honor those quiet choices. They shape your future. Do not rush the process. Do not announce every step. Do not seek approval for effort that is not finished. Build first. Strengthen first. Improve first. Silence gives you space to become who you are meant to be. Results will arrive when they are ready. When they do, they will speak clearly and confidently. And by that time, you will have learned the greatest lesson of all. You did not need an audience to become better. You needed discipline, patience, and quiet determination. Chapter 2. Train patience instead of chasing quick approval. People struggle more with waiting than with working. That is one of the quiet truths of human behavior. Most people are willing to put in effort for a short time. Very few are willing to stay steady when the reward does not arrive quickly. The desire for quick approval is strong because it feels good immediately. A compliment lifts the mood. A like gives a small rush. Recognition creates a sense of worth. But those feelings fade fast, and when they fade, people often stop moving forward. Patience is not passive. Patience is active self-control. It is the ability to keep doing the right thing, even when there is no response. When you train patience, you stop tying your motivation to other people's reactions. You stop needing constant signs that you are on the right path. You learn how to trust your effort. Quick approval teaches the mind bad habits. It trains you to perform instead of progress. It trains you to choose what looks good over what actually works. When approval becomes the goal, discipline becomes optional. And optional discipline never builds a strong life. Think about how many people start strong and fade fast. They begin with energy. They share their plans. They look for encouragement. When encouragement slows down, their effort slows down with it. Not because they lack ability, but because they never learned to wait. Patience changes how you think. You stop asking, when will this pay off? And start asking, am I improving today? That shift is powerful. Improvement is always available. Approval is not. When you focus on improvement, you stay in control. The human brain wants certainty. It wants feedback. It wants proof. But growth rarely gives instant proof. Growth works quietly. Skills develop gradually. Confidence builds through repetition. Character forms through consistency. None of these things happen on demand. Training patience means learning how to sit with uncertainty without quitting. It means learning how to show up without guarantees. It means learning how to trust effort before evidence appears. That kind of trust builds emotional strength. People who chase quick approval often feel anxious. They check constantly. They compare themselves. They adjust their behavior to please others. That drains energy. Patience restores energy. It frees the mind from constant evaluation. When you stop chasing approval, you gain focus. You choose actions based on values instead of reactions. You stop performing for praise and start working for progress. That change brings calm. Calm improves decision-making. There is a difference between encouragement and dependence. Encouragement supports growth. Dependence weakens it. When you depend on approval, you give others control over your motivation. When you train patience, you take that control back. Life rewards those who can wait without bitterness. Waiting without bitterness is emotional maturity. It means you are not angry at the process. You are not resentful toward others. You understand that timing matters. Patience allows learning to sink in. Rushing creates shallow results. When you give yourself time, you notice details. You correct errors. You improve quality. You gain depth. Depth creates lasting success. Many people confuse speed with progress. Fast movement feels productive, but direction matters more than pace. Patience keeps you aligned. It prevents shortcuts that lead nowhere. It keeps you honest. Quick approval often pushes people to exaggerate their progress. Patience removes that pressure. You no longer need to prove anything. You let improvement speak later. That builds integrity. Patience also protects self-respect. When you constantly seek approval, you train yourself to need permission. That weakens confidence. When you wait, you prove to yourself that you can stand on your own judgment. Delayed results teach valuable lessons. They teach humility. They teach persistence. They teach emotional balance. Those lessons cannot be rushed. They must be lived. Training patience is daily work. It shows up in small choices. Choosing to finish tasks even when no one checks. Choosing to practice skills without posting about it. Choosing to stay consistent when progress feels slow. Patience changes how failure feels. Instead of seeing it as a verdict, you see it as feedback. That mindset reduces fear. Reduced fear increases effort. Increased effort leads to growth. People who wait well develop inner stability. They are not easily shaken by opinion. They are not distracted by trends. They are grounded in their purpose. That grounding creates confidence. Approval is loud. Patience is quiet. Approval is short-lived. Patience compounds. What compounds over time always wins. The strongest people are not those who receive the most praise early. They are the ones who stay committed long enough to earn respect later. Respect arrives quietly and stays longer. When you train patience, you stop rushing your identity. You allow yourself to evolve. You accept that becoming better takes time. That acceptance reduces pressure and increases clarity. Patience also improves relationships. You stop demanding immediate understanding. You stop needing constant reassurance. You give others space. That space creates healthier connections. There will be moments when waiting feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is growth, asking for trust. Trust is built by staying present, by continuing effort, by refusing to quit because the reward is delayed. Quick approval can distract you from real goals. It can make you settle for surface success. Patience keeps your eyes on long-term outcomes. It keeps you honest about what truly matters. Those who train patience develop resilience. They recover faster from setbacks. They stay calm under pressure. They know that time and effort work together. When results finally appear, they feel earned. They feel solid. They feel satisfying. You know you did not rush. You know you did not fake it. That knowledge builds pride without arrogance. Patience teaches you how to live without applause. That skill is rare. It is also freeing. You become less reactive, more intentional, more grounded. Chasing approval makes you busy. Training patience makes you effective. Busy people move a lot. Effective people move with purpose. The future belongs to those who can wait without losing focus. Those who can work without reassurance. Those who trust effort more than noise. Train patience daily, not by waiting for everything to feel good, but by continuing even when it does not. That choice changes lives. The habit of patience builds strength from the inside. No one sees it at first, but one day the results show it clearly. And by then, you will not be looking for approval. You will already know your worth. Chapter 3. Act daily without needing external validation. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet hit the ground, your mind already begins to scan for something. A notification, a message, a sign that what you're doing matters to someone. It's automatic for many people. The urge to be noticed, the urge to be reassured, the urge to hear someone say, "You're doing great." And while that might feel nice in the short term, relying on those words slowly weakens your strength over time. Because if the only way you move forward is when someone claps for you, you'll eventually stop when the room goes quiet. Acting daily without needing external validation is not just about discipline. It's about building a kind of emotional independence most people never develop. Validation is addictive because it creates a loop. You act, you wait for praise, and then you act again if that praise comes. But that loop becomes dangerous. If praise doesn't come, the action stops. That is not growth. That is dependency. The most powerful people in the world do not wait for a reaction. They decide what matters, and they do it over and over again, regardless of who's watching. When your actions are tied to likes, applause, compliments, or recognition, you're not building a future. You're feeding a need, and needs like that grow quickly. Today, you want a comment. Tomorrow, you need attention. A month from now, you won't feel good unless someone tells you that you're good. That's not freedom. That's being controlled by the opinions of people who don't live your life, feel your effort, or carry your responsibilities. There is something solid and unshakable about doing what needs to be done without talking about it, without sharing it, without pausing to check who noticed. Imagine this: You wake up, you set your goals for the day, and you execute. Not because someone is going to reward you for it, not because anyone will see it, but because you said you would. That kind of self-leadership builds real pride. It builds a foundation of strength that doesn't disappear when people stop cheering. Most people are driven by noise. They need it to feel like they matter. But the noise is not consistent. People are busy. People forget. People get distracted. And if your progress depends on how much attention you get, you'll spend your life trying to be visible instead of trying to be valuable. The greatest work you'll do is often invisible. It's the habits you build when no one's around. It's the promises you keep to yourself that no one else knows about. It's the moments when you don't feel like doing it but you do it anyway. These things don't get shared. They don't get likes. But they change everything. You cannot lead your life like a performer waiting for applause after every act. You're not on stage. You're in your life. And in your life you are responsible for showing up whether anyone recognizes it or not. When you let go of needing validation, you start doing things for the right reason. You start creating real value, not just visible activity. Ask yourself a hard question. Would you still do the work if nobody ever gave you credit? Would you still stay consistent if no one ever said thank you? Would you still chase the goal if nobody saw the effort? If the answer is no, your motivation is borrowed, and anything borrowed can be taken away. You need to own your drive. You need to own your choices. When you start showing up because you respect yourself, not because you want others to, you become unstoppable. You no longer need reminders or rewards. You don't need approval. You're driven by purpose, not praise. And purpose doesn't disappear when things get quiet. It doesn't fade when the spotlight moves on. Most people only act when they feel seen, but the strongest people act because they have standards. Not feelings. Not moods. Standards. A standard says, this is who I am, and this is what I do, no matter what's happening around me, no matter who's watching, no matter how I feel. There will be days when you feel invisible. That's training. That's your opportunity to lead yourself. That's where real growth begins. Because when you act in silence, you learn how to listen to yourself. You learn how to become your own source of motivation, your own source of direction. Being consistent without validation is also how you protect your focus. Validation distracts. It makes you wonder what others think. It pulls your attention outward. But greatness is built inward. It's built in the quiet spaces where you are fully locked in. Not thinking about who's watching, but thinking about how to be better than yesterday. You don't need to post every step. You don't need to explain every effort. The people who matter will see your result, and the people who don't matter, their opinions never had power anyway. Work is louder than words. Progress is more honest than praise. And consistency over time will always speak louder than one moment of approval. Self-respect grows when you do the work no one sees, because deep down we all know when we're really trying. We know when we're avoiding. We know when we're avoiding. We know when we're chasing approval instead of building something real. And when you choose real, when you choose to act every day because it matters to you, you start to sleep better at night. You start to walk taller. You start to like yourself more. That's the kind of success no one can take away from you. If you want lasting confidence, it comes from following through, not from praise, not from feedback, not from being noticed. Confidence grows when you set a goal, show up daily, and do the work whether or not the world gives you credit. The quiet grind is what strengthens you. The effort without applause is what turns you into someone solid. You do not need more validation. You need more self-trust. And self-trust is built every time you act without needing someone to tell you that you're doing a good job. Every time you move forward without waiting for support, you get stronger. You get sharper. You get more dangerous in the best way. Life will always test your reason for starting, and if your reason is external, you'll stop the moment it's gone. But if your reason is internal, nothing can shake you. You keep moving, because it's who you are, not because someone told you to. Do it without the likes, do it without the cheers, do it without the spotlight, and one day, the results will speak in a way that no amount of applause ever could. You'll know what you built, you'll know what it took. And you'll know that you did it, not because someone said you could, but because you decided you would. That's real power. Chapter 4. Stay committed when nobody is watching. Most people are good when someone's watching. They show up on time. They follow the rules. They put in the effort. But the real question is, who are you when no one's watching? What do you do when no one is checking? That's where the truth shows up. That's where character is built. Staying committed when nobody is watching is the foundation of every strong, disciplined and successful life. It's where real growth lives. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not loud. But it's everything. When the spotlight is gone and the room is quiet, most people relax. They cut corners. They slow down. They justify skipping the hard things because they think no one will notice. But those who win in life don't operate based on being noticed. They operate based on who they've decided to be. They make choices that reflect their values, not the attention they receive. That's what commitment looks like. It's a personal promise you keep, whether the world claps or stays silent. This world is full of people who start. They're loud about their goals. They talk about what they're going to do. They make big plans and share every step. But then when the excitement fades and the attention fades, they fade too. Why? Because their motivation was built on being seen, not on being consistent. That kind of motivation breaks easily. Staying committed in silence is what separates temporary effort from permanent transformation. Because in those moments when no one is there to validate you, you have only one thing to rely on, your decision. And if your decision is strong, you don't need a crowd. You don't need praise. You don't need reminders. You need discipline. You need clarity. You need reasons that matter to you, not reasons that impress others. Think about how you treat your goals when there's no audience. Do you still train like it counts? Do you still study like it matters? Do you still show up like the future depends on it? Because it does. The future is shaped by the actions you repeat when there's no reward in sight. That's the part most people avoid, but that's the part that matters the most. It's easy to show discipline when people are watching. It's easy to be motivated when people are cheering. It's easy to stick to your word when someone is holding you accountable. But the real test is what you do alone. Quiet commitment is the strongest kind because it's not driven by pressure. It's driven by values. You don't need to post your progress every day to prove that you're serious. You don't need to wait for a like or a compliment to stay on track. You don't need to be seen to be solid. You just need to be honest with yourself. Are you doing what you said you would do? Are you respecting the path you chose? Every time you follow through when no one's watching, you build a deeper kind of confidence. Not the kind that depends on applause, the kind that lives in your bones, the kind that says, I trust myself. That trust changes everything. It makes you stronger. It makes you calmer. It makes you more dangerous, because you're no longer moved by the noise. People who stay committed in silence develop a different mindset. They stop thinking in short bursts. They stop craving quick rewards. They start thinking long-term. They start realizing that the process is the real prize. And when you start to love the process, you no longer need validation. You just need progress. There's a kind of peace that comes with knowing you did the work when no one would have known if you didn't. It's a quiet kind of pride, not arrogance, not ego, just peace. You go to bed knowing you didn't cheat yourself. That's real success. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs in life happen when you're completely alone, and you still choose effort over comfort. That moment when no one would blame you for skipping, but you show up anyway. That moment when quitting would be easier, but you push forward. That's where your mindset sharpens. That's where your habits strengthen. That's where your identity shifts. Staying committed in the dark seasons prepares you for the spotlight later, because when the results come, and they always do if you stay consistent, you'll be ready, not surprised, not overwhelmed, ready. You'll know exactly what it took because you lived it. There's also freedom in not needing to be seen. It means you're no longer performing, you're improving. It means you're no longer trying to impress, you're trying to grow. That kind of life has depth, it has direction, it has power. Look at any great athlete, artist, leader, or thinker. You'll find a common theme: years of consistent effort with no recognition, long nights, early mornings, repeated routines, not for attention but for mastery, because they understood something most people ignore. Public results come from private commitment. If you want to build something meaningful, you need to be consistent when it's boring. You need to be focused when it's quiet. You need to be disciplined when nobody claps. That's how you separate yourself, not by doing more, but by doing it longer, doing it better, doing it when others won't. Your competition isn't just other people, it's your own tendency to slow down when nobody is watching. It's your own mind telling you, it's okay to take it easy. But easy doesn't build anything worth having. Easy never made anyone proud. There's something rare about someone who takes their mission seriously, even when no one else sees it. That person becomes reliable. That person becomes solid. That person becomes someone others admire. Not because they ask for it, but because it's obvious in how they live. Your quiet effort is not wasted. It is working in ways you don't yet see. It's building your mindset. It's shaping your discipline. It's preparing your foundation. And when the opportunity finally arrives, you won't have to scramble. You'll be ready, because you stayed committed when no one was watching. This kind of discipline is not built overnight. It's built in the daily decisions to follow through, even when it's inconvenient. It's built in saying yes to the work and no to the distraction. It's built in doing what matters, not just what's visible. One day people may see your results and ask how you did it, but they won't see the early mornings. They won't see the lonely nights. They won't see the quiet work. But you will. You'll know what it took, and that knowing will matter more than their compliments ever could. Stay committed, not for them, for you, because you said you would, because it matters, because your future deserves it. Chapter 5. Control emotions during slow, visible growth. There are seasons in life when you're doing the work, showing up consistently, and staying disciplined, but the results are slow, and progress feels invisible. Those seasons are the hardest to manage, not because of the work itself, but because of what starts to happen emotionally. Frustration builds, doubt creeps in. You question your effort. You start wondering if it's even worth it. That's where many people give up, not because they lack ability, but because they never learned how to manage their emotions when growth is slow. The reality is, progress rarely moves at the speed we want. Most of the time it's gradual. It takes longer than we expect. It comes in pieces, not all at once. And in between those pieces, there's silence. In that silence, your emotions get louder. The pressure rises. The urge to panic shows up. But if you can't control your emotions during these moments, you'll keep resetting your progress before it ever has the chance to show. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean ignoring them. It means understanding them without letting them drive your decisions. It's recognizing that feeling discouraged is part of the process, but acting on that discouragement is optional. You can feel tired without quitting. You can feel uncertain without changing direction. You can feel invisible without becoming bitter. Emotional control gives you space between how you feel and what you choose to do. That space is where discipline lives. When growth is slow, your mind starts playing tricks on you. It whispers things like, "You're behind, nothing's working," or "maybe this isn't for you." That inner voice doesn't speak facts, it speaks fear. And if you let fear lead, you'll make short-term choices that destroy long-term potential. Emotional control is how you protect your future from temporary feelings. There's something powerful about staying calm when nothing is moving fast. That calmness doesn't come from pretending everything's fine. It comes from knowing that growth is still happening, even if it's not visible yet. Every time you stay focused despite the slow pace, you're building mental toughness. That toughness is what turns average effort into unstoppable momentum later. It's easy to stay motivated when you see immediate results. It's much harder when progress is delayed. That's why emotional control is more important than motivation. Motivation fades when rewards are missing. Emotional discipline stays even when nothing is changing on the surface. You have to remind yourself that just because something isn't visible doesn't mean it isn't real. Think of the hours you've spent learning, improving, adjusting, showing up. That effort didn't disappear. It's working underneath, slowly building your next breakthrough. But if you let your emotions convince you otherwise, you'll stop just short of something real. When emotions are high, logic disappears. That's when people make decisions they later regret, quitting too soon, switching paths too quickly, or reacting to something that simply needed time. Emotional control helps you slow down. It helps you step back and ask, is this feeling true, or is it just temporary? Self-awareness is key here. You have to notice when you're slipping into emotional decision-making. Pay attention to the thoughts that repeat when progress feels slow. Are they helping you stay steady, or are they pushing you into doubt and panic? Write them down, question them, replace them with thoughts grounded in truth, not emotion. You're not the only one who feels stuck sometimes. Everyone who has built anything worthwhile has faced long periods where the progress wasn't, but they kept going, not because it was easy, but because they trained their mind to stay steady in silence. They didn't rush the process, they respected it. Managing your emotions during slow growth also means adjusting your expectations. Stop thinking results will always follow effort immediately. They won't. Life doesn't work like that. Progress compounds slowly and shows up later. Your job isn't to control when it arrives, it's to keep moving until it does. You don't have to feel good to make progress. That's a truth most people never hear. You just have to keep showing up, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Feelings are real, but they aren't always accurate. Just because you feel stuck doesn't mean you are. Just because it feels slow doesn't mean it's broken. The goal isn't to eliminate all emotion. The goal is to develop emotional discipline. To feel everything but still act based on what matters. To be tired but still train. To be discouraged but still show up. To be unsure but still take the next step. That's strength. That's what builds character. Think about what kind of person you become when you master this. You become someone who doesn't fold under pressure. You don't panic in silence. You don't chase quick fixes. You become steady, grounded, unshaken by delay. That version of you is powerful, not because you have no emotion, but because you lead yourself through it. Most people give up not because they're incapable, but because they let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Don't do that to yourself. Learn to sit with the discomfort of slow growth. Learn to breathe through the tension of waiting. Learn to remind yourself of your purpose, even when results are missing. Your progress may be slower than you want, but it's still progress. And slow progress is better than no progress. Some days you'll feel like nothing is changing. But the truth is, You are changing. You are growing. You are becoming more focused, more resilient, more patient. There is no timeline for transformation. There is no deadline for development. Your only responsibility is to keep showing up, keep improving, and keep believing, even when the numbers don't move, even when nobody notices, even when it feels like you're walking in place. Growth isn't a straight line. It's messy. It's full of silent days. It tests your mindset, but those tests are where your strength is built. Not in the easy wins, not in the fast results, but in the long, slow stretch between effort and reward. You don't have to fake being positive all the time. You just have to stop letting negative emotions take control. You can be honest and strong at the same time. You can say, "This is hard," and still keep going. That balance is what makes you unbreakable. Control your emotions by checking your focus. Are you focused on what's missing, or what you can do today? Are you focusing on speed or direction? Are you focusing on what's out of your hands, or what's still in your control? Shift your focus, and your emotions will follow. Your ability to stay composed during slow growth will separate you from the rest, not because you never feel doubt, but because you never stop doing what matters. That's how you win, not by skipping the hard part, but by mastering it. So stay calm, stay clear, stay steady. Keep moving forward, even if it feels like nothing's changing. The work is working. The growth is happening, and your patience will pay off if you don't let your emotions talk you out of it. Chapter 6. Delay recognition to strengthen inner confidence. Most people want to be seen. They want recognition, approval, appreciation. That's normal. Every human being has a need to feel acknowledged. But here's what most never realize: when you delay that recognition, when you hold off on looking for applause, you build something much more powerful. You build inner confidence. And that kind of confidence can't be shaken by opinion, rejection, or silence. It's earned through effort that's not driven by attention. It's created by doing the work, not for validation, but for growth. You don't need someone to tell you that you're doing well to believe it. You need to prove it to yourself through action. Most people try to borrow confidence through compliments. That kind of confidence is short-term. It disappears the moment people stop clapping. But confidence that comes from within, that's lasting. That's what allows you to move through challenges without needing someone to tell you you're good enough. And the only way to build that kind of self-trust is to delay the need to be recognized. The problem with early recognition is that it tricks your mind into thinking you've arrived. You get praised, and instead of staying hungry, you get comfortable. You stop pushing. You start performing. You start worrying about maintaining an image instead of continuing the process. It shifts your focus from progress to approval, and when that happens, your personal growth slows down without you even realizing it. If you want to grow deep roots, you need to stay grounded long enough. You can't build emotional stability while constantly chasing someone else's opinion. Confidence isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in solitude. It's built in repetition. It's built in silence. When no one's watching and you still show up, that's where the real shift happens. That's where your confidence becomes solid. When you delay recognition, you give yourself time to become strong without needing feedback to keep going. That doesn't mean recognition is bad. It just means it's better when it comes after you've already developed belief in yourself. Because if recognition is the thing keeping you going, then its absence will break you. But if self-belief is the reason you keep going, then recognition becomes just a bonus, not the foundation. Think about the most solid people you know. The ones who are calm under pressure. The ones who don't seek approval but always seem grounded. They didn't become that way overnight. They spent years building themselves in private. They didn't look for early rewards. They looked for real results, and when those results showed up, they didn't need the world to notice because they had already earned their own respect. The process of delaying recognition is not easy. It challenges your patience. It confronts your ego. It forces you to find reasons beyond applause. But once you cross that line, once you start doing the work for your own growth and not for anyone's attention, everything changes. You stop needing the spotlight, and you start becoming the kind of person who shines without it. There's also a difference between being seen and being ready. You can be seen too early. You can be recognized before you've built the strength to carry it. And when that happens, recognition feels good for a moment. But the pressure that follows can overwhelm you. That's why waiting is powerful. It gives you space to prepare, to develop, to become the kind of person who doesn't just get success, but can handle it with integrity. Delaying recognition also helps you stay focused on the right things. Instead of trying to be impressive, you focus on being effective. Instead of looking for shortcuts to get attention, you focus on sharpening your skills. You stop asking, "When will people notice me?" and you start asking, "How can I get better today?" That question leads to growth. The other question leads to distraction. You have to learn how to enjoy the quiet work. The kind of work that nobody claps for. The kind of work that doesn't get shared, reposted, or praised. Because that's where strength is built. That's where confidence becomes unshakable. Not because someone said you're doing well, but because you know you are. You know what you've been through. You know what you've built. You know how far you've come. Every time you delay recognition, you're training your mind to lead without needing followers. You're telling yourself, "I don't need proof to keep going." That's rare. That's powerful. And it makes you dangerous in the best way possible. Because people like that can't be manipulated by opinions. They're not shaken by critics. They're not controlled by silence. They move with purpose, not applause. Eventually recognition will come. People will notice. They'll ask how you became so consistent, so grounded, so focused. And the answer won't be found in the compliments. It'll be found in the years you worked without them, in the hours you stayed disciplined without being told to, in the days you kept going, even when progress felt invisible. That story is what builds confidence that lasts. Don't be in a rush to be seen. Be in a rush to become someone worth seeing. And that doesn't happen by performing for attention. It happens by committing to your path, with or without it. Every time you choose the work over the praise, you make your confidence stronger. Every time you choose growth over recognition, you increase your value. And every time you choose silence over spotlight, you reinforce that you are doing this for something bigger than approval. Most people spend their whole lives chasing validation. You don't have to. You can build something stronger, something deeper, something real. You can build a mindset that doesn't fall apart when people forget to notice. You can build a standard for yourself that doesn't change depending on who's watching. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be announced. It's felt in how you walk, in how you speak, in how you lead yourself. Delay recognition, not because you're hiding, but because you're building. Not because you're unsure, but because you're preparing. And when the time comes, and it always does, you'll be ready. Not just to receive recognition, but to stand firm with or without it. Because your confidence won't come from being seen. It will come from becoming someone you deeply respect. And that's the kind of confidence no one can take from you. Chapter 7. Improve quietly until results become undeniable. There's a kind of power in quiet improvement that most people overlook. In a world obsessed with updates and announcements, staying silent while you grow feels strange at first. But it works. It works because it removes distraction. It works because it puts your focus where it belongs, on getting better, not on getting noticed. You don't need to explain every step. You don't need to convince anyone that you're making progress. You just need to commit, work, and let time reveal what you've been building. Improvement doesn't need attention. It needs consistency. When you stop trying to prove something to others, you give yourself permission to be honest about what needs work. You stop performing. You start progressing. You stop defending your pace. You start building at your own speed, and that kind of growth, slow, real, and grounded, is the kind that becomes undeniable over time. You don't have to announce every small win. You don't have to get approval for every habit you're building. Growth happens in repetition, not recognition. It happens in the early hours, the quiet evenings, the days when you feel unnoticed but you show up anyway. That quiet effort matters more than most people realize, because when you improve in silence, you avoid the trap of shallow validation. You don't confuse being seen with being skilled. You keep your energy focused inward, where real change starts. Let others talk. Let others show. You stay steady. You sharpen your skills. You refine your thinking. You correct your mistakes. You listen. You do it quietly, because results don't need a marketing team. They speak for themselves. Real progress has a way of showing up on its own, and when it does, there's nothing left to argue. People notice not because you told them, but because they can't ignore what you've become. The world will always try to rush you into showing proof, but proof is built through quiet seasons. The seasons where no one claps, no one checks, no one asks. It's just you, your habits, your intentions, your effort. Those are the seasons that build your foundation. And when your foundation is strong, no criticism can shake you, and no praise can distract you. Improving quietly also gives you the freedom to make mistakes without judgment. You don't have to impress anyone. You're not performing. You're building. That freedom allows you to try new things, to fail and learn, to take risks without fear of what others will think. And that's where breakthroughs happen, not in perfection. There's a big difference in people who look like they're improving and people who actually are. Some chase optics, some chase mastery. When you're quiet, you learn to value progress over perception. You don't waste time managing how others see you. You invest time in becoming someone you can respect. That shift changes everything. Quiet improvement teaches you how to delay the reward. You don't need a quick payout. You're playing the long game. You're not trying to win today. You're building something that will last for years. And that kind of mindset gives you strength most people don't have. You don't quit because things are slow. You don't doubt because no one noticed yet. You keep working because you believe in where you're going, even if no one else sees it yet. And when the results finally start to show, they carry a different kind of weight, because you know what it took. You know how many times you kept going when it would have been easier to stop. You know the nights you stayed in and worked. You know the sacrifices, the setbacks, the self-doubt you had to manage. No one clapped for that. No one posted about it, but you lived it. And when your results arrive, that history makes the success feel earned. There's something deeply fulfilling about achieving without explaining, about letting people assume you've been quiet or inactive, while you've been becoming something stronger behind the scenes, not out of arrogance, but out of purpose. You don't owe updates to anyone. Your effort is yours. Your progress is personal, and your success, when it's built in silence, doesn't need permission to exist. Improving quietly also protects your momentum. When you tell the world every goal, every change, every new habit, you invite opinion. You open the door to criticism and doubt that you might not be ready for. But when you stay private, you protect your space. You give yourself room to evolve without interference. You grow at your own pace, not at the speed of people's expectation. You don't need to wait for motivation to show up to take action. You need a decision, and once that decision is made, you honor it daily, not loudly, not dramatically, just consistently. Quiet action is honest, it's focused, it's not about hype, it's about result. And when you live that way, you realize how much noise you used to tolerate, how many distractions you used to chase, how much energy you gave away trying to be seen. Now you take that energy back. You use it to build, to study, to train, to improve in real measurable way. The kind of ways that add up, the kind of ways that can't be faked. You become someone whose progress is not a performance, but a reflection of steady, quiet discipline. In time, your silence becomes noticeable, not because you were missing, but because your presence becomes more powerful, your skills sharper, your confidence stronger, your value higher. And that didn't come from chasing validation. That came from doing the work, staying the course, and giving yourself permission to grow without needing to be seen. You won't have to convince people you've changed. They'll see it. You won't have to tell them you've improved. They'll feel it. You won't need to declare your progress. It will show in how you think, how you act, how you move through the world. And by then you won't even care if they notice, because you will have already become someone who knows their worth, with or without recognition. Keep improving, quietly, calmly, relentlessly. Let your results do the talking. When you walk into a room one day and people stop to take notice, they won't realize how long you were building behind closed doors, but you will, and that's what makes it powerful. You'll carry your progress with quiet pride, not because you were trying to prove anything, but because you stayed true to yourself long enough to see the outcome. Chapter 8. Resist comparison and focus on personal pace. It's easy to lose yourself when you start looking sideways. You see someone ahead of you, someone getting results faster, someone appearing more successful, someone making what you're struggling with look easy, and before you even realize it, your focus shifts. You're no longer grounded in your own journey. You start adjusting your pace to match theirs. You begin questioning your path, doubting your progress, and feeling behind simply because you're measuring your life against someone else's timeline. Comparison is a trap that feels logical, but robs you of peace. It convinces you that someone else's success means something about your worth. It takes your attention off your own steps and puts it on someone else's finish line. That mindset keeps you chasing shadows. You forget that you have a different story, a different set of strengths, and a different reason for even starting. The more time you spend looking at others, the less time you spend becoming who you were meant to be. Everyone has their own pace for a reason. Some people grow fast, others take longer. Some hit breakthroughs early, others build quietly for years. Neither path is better. The only difference is that those who stay true to their pace end up building something that lasts. Those who try to rush, compare or copy often burn out or lose direction, because they weren't building from purpose, they were reacting to pressure. When you learn to resist comparison, you give yourself the freedom to grow honestly. You stop pretending you're further along than you are. You stop forcing speed that doesn't match your season. You allow yourself to be where you are without apology. That acceptance creates clarity. It helps you focus on progress instead of perfection, and that shift unlocks real growth. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by others, but inspiration becomes comparison the moment it makes you feel like you're not enough. The moment it turns admiration into self-doubt, it loses its power. You're allowed to celebrate others without questioning your value. You're allowed to move at your own pace without feeling like you're late. There is no single timeline for success, no perfect age to get it right, no universal measure of being ahead or behind. That pressure is made up, and it doesn't serve you. Your pace is right for your path. Every step you take, even the slow ones, are shaping your future. When you start trusting your own process, you stop needing constant proof. You stop needing to explain why you're not where someone else is. You just keep going. And that quiet focus builds momentum that no amount of comparison can create. Think about what happens when you focus fully on your own journey. You notice your growth more clearly. You celebrate small wins. You stay patient through the slow days. You listen to your own needs, not other people's opinions. That kind of presence allows you to build with depth. You don't skip the hard lessons. You don't rush the foundation. You don't fake confidence. You earn it. People are moving at different speeds for reasons you can't see. Some have different starting points. Some have different resources. Some are carrying invisible struggles. And some are simply on a path that looks nothing like yours. Judging your progress by someone else's picture will always leave you feeling wrong. But when you tune that out and start focusing only on what's in front of you, everything begins to shift. You become more grounded. You waste less time. You move with intention. The truth is, no one has your exact experiences. No one knows your battles. No one understands your process like you do. So no one can judge your pace unless you let them. But the moment you reclaim your timeline, you take your power back. You stop needing to match anyone. You stop comparing your progress to noise. You become someone who is proud of effort, not status. Proud of consistency, not attention. Proud of staying in your lane even when it's quiet. When you stop comparing, your mind gets quieter. You think more clearly. You feel less pressure. You return to what actually matters, your goals, your values, your standards. You ask better questions. You stop chasing what looks good and start creating what feels right. That kind of alignment creates peace. It creates confidence. It creates real results. Some people will move faster. Let them. That has nothing to do with you. What matters is that you keep moving. Keep improving. Keep growing. The pace doesn't matter as long as you're still becoming better than you were yesterday. That's the only real measure that counts. And when you focus on that, you win in a way that comparison can never offer. Because you're not just succeeding, you're becoming someone you actually respect. The strength to resist comparison comes from building a clear vision. Know what you want. Know why you want it. Then stay loyal to that. When your reason is strong, you don't get pulled off course by distractions. You stay steady. You take your steps, day by day, with quiet confidence, and even when it feels like others are moving faster, you trust that your pace is leading somewhere meaningful. You weren't made to be a copy. You were made to create something unique. That means your process will look different. Your timing will be unpredictable. Your results may not fit anyone's expectations, and that's okay. Great things don't need approval. They just need patience. So slow down. Breathe. Remind yourself that no one else gets to define your progress. If you're growing, if you're learning, if you're showing up, then you're doing it right. Stay in your lane. Honor your pace. And keep moving forward with your eyes on your own path. That's how real success is built, not through comparison, but through alignment, through focus, through quiet, steady belief in who you're becoming. Chapter 9. Build self-respect through consistent private effort. Self-respect is not built through what you tell others. It's built through what you do when no one else sees it. It doesn't grow from compliments, titles, or attention. It grows from the private decisions you make every day. It grows every time you do something hard without telling anyone. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small. Every time you show up, not for recognition but because you said you would. Consistent private effort is how you develop real trust in who you are. When your actions are only strong when others are watching, your self-respect remains shallow. It stays dependent on who's around, who's impressed, and who gives you credit. But the moment you decide that your word matters more than someone else's applause, everything starts to shift. You start to build a quiet power inside you, a kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen to be real. That kind of self-respect isn't loud, but it's unshakable. The world often teaches people to work for attention, to post every step, to turn progress into content. But there is something sacred about effort that isn't shared. There is something deeply personal about growth that happens behind closed doors. When no one is watching and you still choose to put in the work, you start to believe in yourself in a new way. You're no longer performing, you're becoming. It's not easy to stay consistent in silence. Most people want quick signs that they're doing the right thing. They want someone to tell them they're on the right path. But real self-respect isn't built by being told you're good. It's built by doing good things repeatedly, especially when there's no reward in sight. That kind of effort requires focus. It requires maturity. It requires being okay with boredom, repetition, and slow progress. But it's exactly those qualities that build something solid within you. Each time you make a choice that aligns with your values, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. That's how respect starts. From within, you begin to carry yourself differently. You no longer need to prove anything, because you already know you're putting in the work. And when you know you're putting in the work, you stop needing validation from the outside. Consistency is powerful not because it's flashy, but because it builds credibility with yourself. You start to look in the mirror and know that you're reliable. You know that when you set a goal, you'll keep showing up. That knowing changes everything. It quiets self-doubt. It reduces emotional chaos. It strengthens your decisions. Private effort strips away the ego. It forces you to act not for praise, but for growth. It forces you to evaluate your reasons. Why are you doing this? Who are you doing it for? When the answer is you, and only you, that's when your work starts to hold real meaning. That's when your character deepens. It's common to think that you need motivation to stay consistent, but self-respect is actually a better fuel. Motivation fades. It comes and goes. But self-respect stays when it's built through action. When you've trained yourself to do hard things without needing to be seen or rewarded, you no longer need hype to keep going. You move because you said you would. That's discipline. That's maturity. People often chase big moments, the breakthrough, the success story, the recognition. But what really builds you are the invisible moments. Waking up when it would be easier to sleep, choosing a workout when no one will check, writing another page when no one's reading, practicing your craft even when it feels repetitive. Those quiet efforts stack up, and over time they shape you into someone you respect, not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. This kind of effort is deeply personal. It's not always fun. It's not always inspiring. But it's always building something. With every action, you are reinforcing a message to yourself. I matter. My goals matter. My choices matter. And when you believe that, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop depending on motivation. You stop quitting when things get slow. What you do in private teaches you how to stay strong when life gets noisy, when opinions come, when distractions show up, when emotions swing. If you've built your confidence from effort, you stay grounded. You've already proven to yourself that you can stay focused in silence. That skill keeps you centered no matter what's happening around you. You start to crave the work more than the result, not because results don't matter, but because you've fallen in love with who you're becoming through the process. You begin to realize that self-respect is not something you earn once. It's something you renew daily, through action, through patience, through private effort, that no one may ever applaud, but that you'll always remember. Your private actions also prepare you for responsibility. When you've built your life on hidden discipline, you're ready for bigger stages. You're ready to handle pressure, attention, leadership, not because you're chasing it, but because you've earned it quietly. You've already faced yourself in silence. You've already shown that your values aren't based on what people think. That's the kind of foundation that doesn't crack when things get hard. You won't always feel like doing the work, but if you've built a pattern of showing up anyway, you'll do it. And that choice over and over creates a kind of internal pride that doesn't need to be broadcast. It just becomes part of who you are. Eventually people may notice. They may see your discipline, your results, your growth, but by then, you won't need their recognition. You'll already have something stronger, your own respect. That's the reward, not the attention, not the applause, but the quiet belief that you are who you say you are. Build that. Build it one day at a time. Not for the world, not for praise, but for yourself. Because you live with your choices. You carry the weight of your decision. And when those choices are rooted in private effort and repeated commitment, you carry something powerful: pride without arrogance, strength without noise, and respect without permission. Chapter 10. Allow results to define your true value. Results are the proof. They are the mirror that reflects whether your effort, your discipline, and your mindset are working. In a world where talk is cheap and promises are endless, results are what bring clarity. You don't have to explain your value when it's visible through what you've built, achieved, and become. That's the power of letting results define your true worth. Not words, not opinions, not followers, not applause, just outcomes backed by action. There's nothing wrong with speaking confidently or having goals, but it's easy to fall into the trap of talking more than building. People announce plans constantly. They share their intentions, declare their vision, and expect others to recognize their potential. But potential doesn't carry value without follow-through. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if your results don't match your talk, it doesn't matter. What you do is who you are. Letting your results speak for you isn't about being quiet, it's about being real. It's about understanding that no matter how passionate you are, what counts at the end of the day is what you've actually done. That's not pressure, it's freedom, because it removes the need to chase approval or explain yourself. When your results are solid, you don't need to argue. You just keep doing the work, and the work speaks for itself. This mindset also protects you from distractions. When you anchor your value in outcomes, not noise, you stop getting pulled into comparison. You stop worrying about who's ahead or who's behind. You focus on building your lane, refining your craft, doing the small things right. That focus compounds. Over time it turns into proof. And proof is more powerful than perception. Most people focus on appearing successful instead of becoming successful. They post updates, dress the part, and chase recognition without results. That's fragile. Because when attention fades, and it always does, what's left? If you've been relying on image, you'll feel empty. But if you've been building real results, you'll feel grounded. You won't have to prove anything. You'll know your value through evidence. Results don't lie. They're not emotional. They don't care about your reasons. They don't need you to defend them. They show whether you did the work or didn't, whether you followed through or didn't, whether you grew or stayed stuck. And while that may sound harsh, it's actually a gift, because it gives you control. You're not at the mercy of opinions. You're in charge of the outcome. You know what effort looks like, and you know it always leads to something. If you're consistent enough to wait for it, you don't need instant validation when you trust your process. You don't need to be noticed when you're locked in on progress, because deep down you know that every day of disciplined effort adds up. And while people may not see it now, they will. And when they do, it won't be because you shouted. It'll be because your actions created something undeniable. That's the value of patience. You let the results catch up with the work. You stop chasing quick wins and start creating real impact. You play the long game, and when you operate like that, your confidence shifts. You're no longer trying to convince others. You're just building, quietly, steadily, with a purpose that's deeper than praise. Letting results define your value also keeps your ego in check. You don't start to believe you're better than others just because you're confident. You don't get caught up in your own image. You stay humble because you know how long it took to get there. You know what you had to overcome, what you had to sacrifice, how many silent days of work it required. That keeps you grounded and hungry at the same time. It also allows you to handle criticism better. If someone questions you, you don't panic. You don't become defensive. You let your results speak. You stay focused on what matters. And if the results aren't where they need to be yet, you don't blame anyone. You take responsibility. You adjust. You keep going until they are. Real value doesn't need decoration. It's clear in performance, in growth, in consistency. If you show up every day, improve your craft and keep moving forward, even when it's slow, you will build results that no one can question, and those results will speak with more power than any post, speech, or caption ever could. This mindset is also about dignity. It's about building a life you're proud of, not because it looks good from the outside, but because it's solid on the inside. When your results match your effort, you walk differently. You carry yourself with quiet confidence, not loud, not arrogant, just steady. You know who you are, and you know what you've built. Stop waiting for others to validate you. Stop trying to convince the world that you're on your way. Just prove it, every day, in private, with work that counts. Let your outcomes catch people's attention, not your word. That's how you build respect that lasts. That's how you build confidence that doesn't need to be inflated. And that's how you build value that no one can take away. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be flashy to be effective. What you need is proof. Results are the scoreboard, not because life is a competition, but because results show effort. They reveal who stayed committed, who grew under pressure, who followed through when it wasn't easy. That's what matters. That's what creates real value. It's not about being the best. It's about becoming better than you were before, and then letting your progress show that truth. Not through performance, but through presence, through the way you move, the way you act, the way you deliver without needing to talk about. When you live that way, you don't just have value, you become the proof of it, not just in what you say, but in what you've done, what you've earned, what you've become through effort, discipline, and time. So keep building, keep improving, keep showing up, and don't worry about when people notice. Your results will make it clear, and when they do, you won't have to say a word. You'll already know your value because you lived it every single day.